Hi, Hex here. It is time again for Villains Day at Disneyland Park. It is my favorite time of the year. Well, I'm a liar. Anytime I'm allowed to dress up and be over the top is my favorite time of the year. Who am I kidding? Which is part of why I love Villains Day, because it's all about dress up as your favorite Disney villain and hang out at the park. And I just really love seeing everybody's Disneybounds, and we all get to hang out, and it's great fun. I love it. If you follow this channel, you may have seen last year where I talked about updating my Ursula bound for Villains Day. So I didn't want to do Ursula again. I decided, let's mix it up a little bit. And I was thinking about, like, who do I want? Who's cool? Who is somebody that, like, is glamorous and beautiful and amazing? And I was like, oh, you know who I should do? Maleficent. And I was a little bit wary to do this because, Angelina Jolie is super gorgeous and everybody thinks about her from the movie, from her most recent movies with her. But I'm talking like OG 1959 Maleficent. So that is my style inspiration. Now, one of the other things too that I was like, okay, if I'm going to make an outfit, how am I going to do this? I want obviously to have like this very mid-century vibe to it, and I want it to be very over the top and dramatic. And one of the things that I was thinking about is, I don't know if you watch a lot of like movies from like the 60s. They always have like this weird like fashion show interlude. And one of my favorite things that they do is they would have these looks where these women come out in these coats, and sometimes the coats are like very like demure almost, and then they open them up and the inside is just some kind of like wild contrast print in the lining, and then the dress underneath is that same coordinating print. So it's like outside, and then you open it up and like there's the look, there's the reveal. Here's a couple of examples that I found so you can see what I'm talking about. I love how the one on the right was called a subway coat, because when it was closed, you could wear it on the subway and people wouldn't know that you had this fabulous gown on underneath. So it's kind of like this little bit of undercover glamour. And so I was like, oh, that would be super fun, because we know that Maleficent kind of does a very similar thing, like, boom, I am the big bad guy now. So I thought that would be really fun. So I went digging through my patterns, and I do have the Gertie, this is the Charm Patterns Princess Coat pattern. This is available on the Charm Patterns site. And the thing that I like about this pattern is that it's kind of like a choose your own adventure situation. So you can kind of mix and match your lapel, your length of your jacket, your sleeve. And so I was like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. And there's enough pieces in there that I can kind of mix and match and get the vibe that I want without having to go over the top on making adjustments. So that's what I thought I would do. And then on the inside, I'm just gonna go ahead and do another Stanwyck dress. If you follow my Instagram, you've seen me make this kind of dress before. So this is kind of a tried and true dress in my stash. I can just go ahead and whip another one of those out. This one's gonna take a little bit more adjustments, but I think I can do it. So the idea then would be like a black coat dress, and then you open it up and it should be something like amazing inside to be like Maleficent. And the other thing is, I live in Southern California. I am not trying to wear a giant heavy winter coat all day long. Yes, I know it's February, but it's not going to be that hot. It's not going to be that cold. So the first thing is my outside fabric. I'm just going to do this plain black broadcloth. And the other nice thing is, because this is just regular broadcloth, this will allow me to kind of do a wearable muslin, so to speak. Kind of work out any fit issues in the bodice, in this, well, not in the sleeves, because my sleeves are going to be wild by the time I'm done. But that's the idea. And then on the inside, here's what's going to be fun, is, so, okay, you have this black coat, and then you're gonna open it up. Oh, I am knocking over my camera. Okay, so we talked about the outside is gonna be this black coat, and then it's gonna open up. So what's gonna be inside? And I spent a lot of time thinking about this because, you know, it's Maleficent, so, you know, do I want like a purple or like a green or whatever? But then I was like, you know what's awesome is she turns into a freaking dragon. Look at this fabric. I know it's snakeskin, okay, but we're pretending. This is cosplay fabric that I found at Joann, and it is they call it metallic. I don't know that I would call it metallic, but it does have like this iridescence on it. And it's a snakeskin pattern. It is flat. Like it's perfectly smooth. It's not textured. It's just patterned to look textured, which is kind of cool. The textured ones were $10 more a yard, so we weren't doing that. But anyway, so the idea then would be I would have this dress, and then this is the lining for the coat. So when you open it up, it's almost like, oh, I'm turning into the dragon now. So that is my idea. That is my plan. Also, this is just so much fun. Like, come on. Got to make any excuse. Like, you all know that you all want a snakeskin dress that you can wear. I don't know where I'm going to wear it, but I'm going to wear it. I'm going to find a place, more other places to wear this dress because it's going to be amazing. And I'm super excited. So that's what I'm looking at right now. The idea is, I don't know if you can see kind of in this picture here, where she has kind of this bell sleeve with the gloves. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, except for I want to do a bigger, more dramatic sleeve. Maybe even do kind of like the cutout. So it, you know, Maleficent, her dress, when she's wearing her robes, it kind of has like those cutouts. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. So this kind of zigzaggy frayed edge that she has going on right here is something very similar to that. And then the inside lining that kind of peeks out will also still be this. So I think this will be a really fun look. Hopefully I have enough time. It's just under a month right now. I think I have like 4 weekends between now and Villains Day. So that is my plan. And let's get started on making some of these adjustments. My original plan was just to do another version of this dress because I've already made all of the adjustments. But how cute is this Wanda skirt? Plus, it's designed for stretch fabrics, like my snakeskin. I was so excited. I thought this was going to be perfect. I cut it all out, and then I realized I didn't have enough of my lining fabric. I even tried like reorienting the pieces a couple of different ways, and it just was not going to work. I did not have enough of my lining fabric. I was so devastated. Since I don't have enough of that plain black knit to do the full lining of the dress, I had to come back to my stash. I didn't really have anything that worked. Everything was like way too bright or like just completely the wrong texture. But what I do have is this Harley Quinn jersey that I have left over from when I made some themed roller derby helmet covers a couple of years ago. This jersey is exactly the same weight as the other lining knit fabric, so it worked out fine. The only thing is it's going to have like this really like Harley Quinn inside, so I just got to make sure that I really am careful with my stay stitching and iron it down really well. I don't want any, you know, little peeking over the edge. All right, I just need to finish attaching the lining to the dress, and then we can go ahead and move on with like adding the zippers and the little finishing details. Just don't forget with this snake fabric to treat it like a knit because it is stretchy, and do the really narrow zigzag seam, especially if you're going to be wearing it over tight curves and swerves, because you're going to want it to have that little bit of give. Except for when you're installing zippers, those you want to make sure you're still doing on a straight stitch, but you don't have to worry about that fabric stretching so much because the zipper tape is going to keep everything nice and taut. Final fit check on this dress. Everything seems to be fitting pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the skirt. I did have to shorten it a bit. I think I'm pretty happy with it. So now it just needs a hem and finishing.
Just doing a little bit of hand finishing on my lunch break. I always find that when you're sewing down the lining to the inside of the bodice, it makes the most sense just to make sure you get really up close to that zipper without having any visible stitching on the outside. Here's the inside. You can see the lining is all finished and tacked down, really nice and neat.
Now that the dress is done, it's time to move on to the coat. And full disclosure, part of the reason that I decided to make this outfit was to have an excuse to wear these gorgeous vintage purple leather gloves that I found on Etsy. I mean, how gorgeous are these? I love them so, so much. They are technically a half size too small. I should be wearing a size 7, and these are a size 6.5. But because they are leather, they will stretch if you keep wearing them. So I'm just gonna wear them continuously for the next, month. I will make them fit. It will happen. But what I need to do now is figure out what kind of sleeve I want, because obviously I want to show off these gorgeous gloves. So I don't want to have, like this full sleeve that they have going on here. So my plan is to do something like this, but instead of, obviously it'll be the purple gloves with the black, and instead of like this little pink polka dot, it'll be the snakeskin poking out. And I think that'll just be super, super cute. Because I've done a lot of this company's patterns before, I know going in that I'm going to need to do a sway back adjustment, and I'm going to need to shorten the skirt section because I am very, very short. I'm only 5'2", and this would be almost ankle length on me. So I'm going to go ahead and just do those flat pattern adjustments because I know they're coming anyway, and then that way I can move into making my mock-up.
I wasn't sure exactly what shape I wanted the sleeve to be, so I started with the basic bell shape that came with the pattern, and then I just put some notation on here for a possible cutting line and making sure that I keep my grain line straight. This is a pattern I have for another sleeve that has a very dramatic drape, just kind of for reference, trying to figure out what I want. But I decided to go ahead and just see what happens when I sew up the sleeve that's there. And then that way I kind of know what kind of adjustments I need to make. So I'm doing the full skirted version of this coat, and it's basically an 8 gore circle skirt. So I actually numbered every one in chalk just to make sure that I was keeping them straight. Because the snakeskin fabric is kind of like a plasticky latex coating on this knit, you can't just iron over it. But because this is a tailored coat, you do want to still have those nice crisp, clean edges. So what I did is I just used a scrap of the broadcloth fabric that's going to be the outer layer, and I used it like a pressing cloth. And I just kind of went over it with a medium heat. Sometimes I did take 2 passes, but I am really, really pleased with how well it turned out. Putting the lining together was super easy. It went together really well, kind of like an open front princess seam dress.
All right, so I decided to do the lining first because I had just made the dress and it takes the same kind of ballpoint needle, and I was lazy and I didn't want to change my needle back and forth. But it actually worked out because this is a little bit like a mock-up of what the actual coat would be. Obviously this doesn't cover the whole front because this is just the lining, and the actual coat will overlap. But you can see that all of the adjustments I made, like the sway back adjustment, are working. The back side of the lining fabric is actually kind of close to what it's going to look like. So I feel like this gives a really good impression of what the final coat will be. I'm really glad that I ended up not making any adjustments to the sleeves because I think that is fine on its own. It's dramatic without being ridiculous. So I think that'll end up being really, really nice. So anyway, now that I am 100% done with the lining, I can go ahead and move on to the coat. And I think this will be a really nice effect when I open it up.
I didn't get a lot of footage of the actual construction of the outside of the coat, mostly because I was overly concerned with these bound buttonholes. I'd never done them before, and I thought I was doing a really great job, and then it turns out that I wasn't, and I don't know what this is. And so basically, it was just a lot of footage of me, you know, crying and sweating blood, and I figured you wouldn't want to see that. But I did install the lining. I'm very proud of my lining. It is installed well, and I just need to do a couple of finishing touches on that. Here's the inside of my coat all laid out so you can kind of see where the lining and the outer part of the coat meet up. So what I'm going to do now is just make sure that everything is lined up seam to seam, so when I sew the lining down, it's not like weird or crooked or baggy or anything. Now that the lining is on straight, I just need to tack it down with a little running stitch. Normally in this coat, because the lining would be the lighter, flowier fabric, you would just need to tack it down, you know, a little bit here and there. But because this snakeskin is kind of really heavy, it needs a little bit more to make sure that it stays where it's supposed to be. And I don't know if you can tell so much in this video, but one of the things that I really like about the snakeskin fabric is that it's almost self-healing. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times coated fabrics, when you cut them or poke them, they start to kind of fray and pucker, and the coating comes away from the base fabric. And this snakeskin doesn't really do that. It just kind of goes back in on itself, and it keeps it looking really nice and smooth. So I'm actually really, really pleased with this fabric.
Having a great day here at Villains Day. It is about 70 degrees outside right now. It's very bright, you can see. But this is the hottest it's going to be all day, so this hasn't been so bad. It is getting a little bit steamy because this is, you know, some kind of plastic latex nonsense, but it's not so uncomfortable that I can't be wearing it. I could just unbutton it and open it and walk around and I'm fine at the hottest part of the day. So I am glad that I went with this lighter fabric. It took me longer than expected to get this video out. So long, in fact, that I've already had the opportunity to wear this dress to another event. My friends took me to a spooky restaurant for my birthday, and this was the perfect little cocktail dress for going to a themed restaurant for dinner. And we were able to go into all of their little themed nooks and crannies and take a bunch of pictures, and it was so much fun. And then I realized that this coat lapel is the perfect place to put little patches or brooches so that I can kind of mix and match and re-theme what I'm doing, and that this will be the perfect outfit to go see the Beetlejuice touring production when it comes through next month. So I'm very excited for that. And mostly I'm just really happy to have another spooky staple in my wardrobe. So thank you so much for following along on my journey to make some more ridiculous outfits and for letting me info dump on you. Bye.